We are live. Amanda, the microphone is yours.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Daily Light 808, and this is our second chance at having a conversation all together where each one of us are individuals and we all have different perspectives and we all want to share our different perspectives with you. And so I think we're going to start off with an intention for this conversation and what we want out of this for you guys. So Mickey, do you want to start with your intention?
Sure. Setting intentions in general really powerful because in my awareness, when we set intentions, we kind of creating with our mind, we're creating a vessel for the conversation to be filled with. So the intentions are really, my intentions to be pure source of information that can help others to experience reality in a joyful and loving way. Every single moment with knowing that the power to experience the reality in a joyful ways within ourselves, within you. So these are my intentions for this conversation and always.
Thank you for sharing. Idan.
Yeah. My intention for this one is, first of all, to have a lot of fun, because I know you guys are awesome in a different perspective, and to mix everything together. And bring a lot of openness, clarity. I think is a good word, right? As we kind of uncoding our daily experience, kind of what is it made of, right? And why do we experience certain things? So kind of breaking it down, hopefully will bring more ease to me as well, and to hopefully more people that hear this conversation.
Thank you so much. Danny.
How are you guys?
Amazing.
Where are you in this part of the world this time of...
I'm talking to you from beautiful Japan, which, by the way, these flowers are very Japanese in nature. I have to say, what it is around us right now. And it's a very delightfully weird place. I absolutely love it. My intention, I think, is it's always the same. It's definitely to try and have as much fun. But for me, enlightenment always comes through clarity, and usually comes through open-hearted and open-minded communication. And because I've known all of you for some time, some longer than others, but in either case, all of you know that we have these conversations that go pretty deep. And the most important thing for me is basically to have this truly open dialogue that allows for others to express themselves for really what they want to say, and but also the intention to be heard in a way that allows ourselves to also be enlightened through the things we say. From my experience, when you're trying to say things to prove a point or something, there's a different kind of truth coming out. It's not even truth, it's like a different kind of vibe coming out of you. But when you're trying to make sense to the other person because you know they're listening and open to you, there's an opening, and then there's something that comes through you that is actually much more true. And that's my intention, to hold that line.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
I love that. John.
Is it just me
or
the microphone of Danny buzzing?
Yeah.
So, mine is buzzing, so I can turn it. Hold on, let me try and do without the headphones.
It's got some
Because
Yeah, I can. But then you might hear a little bit more echo. Is this less echoey?
Much better. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Perfect. All right, John, you're next.
We just so you guys know, apologies because we're like I might need to avert my voice because I stepped outside of the room. We have we work all night, so we go to sleep at about 10. So Kelsey is asleep. I can't be in the room because of it. got kicked out.
Ah, beautiful.
John.
Yeah. Yeah, my intention for this is kind of like the rest of you, right? Like just to have as much fun as possible, but also to be open to not only share, but to listen to others, right? And get their viewpoints to help me grow as well, right? Like the beautiful thing that we've shared so many times, is that each of us has our own gifts, and the beautiful thing about all of you guys, you have things that your strengths are things that are my weaknesses, so to speak, or things that I'm not as strong in. So I don't have to be, because I get to witness them through you, right? So with that, I think where I hope we can help others is that there's something with all of us that's within all of us, right? That we can help bring that light to help someone go, you know what? I get that. I'm kind of going through that too. That makes sense to me, right? Because everybody we're going through similar experiences, but we all have our own viewpoints. And the beauty of this to me, for myself, is that I get to grow so much more having these conversations with you guys, right? And getting to have these viewpoints that are different than mine, or if they're similar, right? It's just, they just help you grow in such a way that I couldn't do without you. I couldn't grow this way without you guys, right? And I just hope that as much help as you guys have given me, I can give back to you and to others, right? So that's my intention with this.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you guys. I mean, I am on a play with amazing men. Like, how many women can say that?
The only woman around.
But I really, to be surrounded by you guys in itself, it's an honor. And to have learned from you guys, you guys are a part of my journey. And my intention is to learn as much as I can. Learn from you, but also share a piece of me to help you guys learn as well. And I hope that these conversations can lead to more people also learning and being able to resonate with each and one of us, because we're all uniquely different. And that's the best part of that, of this, is that we're all different. And you guys have already made me grow so much. And going from there, a few days ago, maybe just 2 days ago, we had some amazing conversation through text messaging. And I absolutely love that. And thank you, Idan, and thank you, Danny, for sharing your perspective of just literally of words that I had never really thought about in my own self, right? And what those definitions were to me. But to hear other people's definitions of them started to help me put puzzle pieces together and start to recognize all of that within myself and how myself is working, through other people. And so my intention is just, I already set my intention. Our next path, I guess, into the next part is what is awakening? What does that mean to each one of us? Who would like to go first?
Idan, you started.
Idan.
I started from not from the awakening part. I started from the other side, but
So start from there.
yeah.
What is the other side? Wait, what is the other side?
The other side is awakening is the other side is where I started my journey into it, right? Looking at the reality in front of me, fighting it for many, many years and try to push my way through the world, right? And then I realized that there is nothing really to push. It's all there's nothing really for us to change without besides going internally and opening up. So, but awakening for me, it's I think it's very hard to put it in words, but I can share some of the experiences that I've been, and it's been pretty constant in the past, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months. There is another parts that kind of take a bigger part of the day to day. So the noise kind of become less of a noise to some degree. Sometimes the noise even is not there anymore. But then there is an inner calmness, peace, fulfillment. Sometimes it feels like even inner abundance, right? So it's not dependent on the internal situation. It's more of a constant internal feeling. And the reason that I brought up the conversation on the WhatsApp, and for a while now, I'm trying to break it down into pieces in a way, because one of the things that I realized that Idan, the idea of Idan, we call it the ego, cannot be enlightened. There is a certain point that Idan can get to, and at that point, this thing also will fall down, will fall away, right? Because that's, and me and Mickey had a lot of conversation, and Mickey really helped me seeing it even when we spend more time together a few months ago, is there is a point that the mind, the ego, have to see things separated, right? It cannot really understand a whole. So as much as I'm going to work on myself and try to get better and try to understand with the mind what it means to have that internal feeling or oneness or this level of connection, there is one point that the mind just reached that it's not going to go further, right? And at that point, when you start focusing on all down, so if I'm aware of the mind and I'm aware of the body and I'm aware of the sensation, if this is something, if I'm aware of, maybe it's not a part of who I am. It's just a happening that is right in front of me. And when I start paying attention more to the awareness, right? So I seriously, most of my day, I'm paying a lot more attention to the awareness compared to the content of my life. And that awareness taking now a much bigger part of my day to day. So that noise, first of all, I have much less noise, to some degree that sometimes it's pretty quiet and it's fucking awesome. but the point is that the second part that been more real to me is what we do during the day. It's a happening based on a certain knowing that we are holding. So if I have a certain knowing or identity of this is what the world is, and this is who is Idan, and this what's supposed to happen or not supposed to happen, Idan, the ego structure, will just act based on this knowing. So if now I'm here and this thing is just doing things because of a certain knowing, I look at it now as a happening. I'm not really even doing the things that I'm believing that I'm doing every day. Because once you're knowing your identity, whatever we want to call it, change, the behavior of Idan in this physical reality will change, right? And that was a big part for me that happened many years ago, that I realized, wait a second, for 30 something years, I tried to fight the world. I'm going to change everything. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do this, and this is how it's going to change. And I end up being exactly the same place. But then when I started my process a few years in, I started making internal changes, and then everything changed outside, completely changed in an amazing way. So that took me really on a journey of going within and not fighting with the external world, because it's just a reflection, right? So my goal on the WhatsApp conversation was really to start breaking it down and hear from everybody else. How do you look at your thoughts, or where the thought patterns are coming from? And what is the emotional DNA that kind of give birth to these thought patterns, right? So when we start seeing it in these layers and you become aware of it, now there is a gap between you, the awareness, to what's happening right in front of you. And making shift and changes and recoding now is much easier because you are not as lost into this day to day and this is who I am and this is what I need to do, and you're not really doing anything. Right? So just kind of my long answer to your quick thing. Yeah. So
No, it's perfect. Can I ask you, how long would you say you've been in this space?
so my journey in the space started now in what space? In the entire, or just kind of the last 3-4 months paying more attention to the awareness part?
So 3 or 4 months of paying close to awareness, but when did you kind of start?
So about my journey started about 12 or 13 years ago, not thinking about spirituality at all. The only thing that I cared about is I need to make $200 million because I need to make my family and myself happy. That's one. Seriously.
Yes.
I saw the world as black and white. I don't want to hear. If you want to talk to me about anything that is spiritual, I don't want to hear about it. I have no interest. None of it was anywhere in my reality. The only thing is that I remember as a kid, I always had a feeling that there's something there. I didn't like this feeling. I even hated this feeling. But I always had this something. This is not what this thing is all about. But I pushed this feeling away. But I really started because I wanted to make a lot of money to make my family happy. And the second part that I felt like stopping me from getting anything is because I used to have a heavier stutter. So I used to be very, very quiet. So I said, okay, for me to make the $200 million, I need to go and find a way to fix my stutter. And a few years in, I discovered that the biggest gift that I ever got in my life is the stutter.
Yes.
Right? Because that opened up the door to really what's happening here. I'm so happy that I didn't just continue trying to make this $200 million. Yeah. So it's been a while, but it's
I love
been
it.
amazing. Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Of
Oh,
course.
I know there's going to be a lot of people that can resonate with that. So, Danny, you want to talk, or I'm jumping
Sure.
around?
No problem. So thank you for that, Idan. That actually clarifies a lot of things, because even though you've expressed this to me before many times, it's much easier to understand where a lot of our conversations between you and I come from. And I just realized as you were talking that many times when you would say, there's nothing you need to do, you just need to be aware of something, when as a response to me saying, but we need to do this or that, I think the misunderstanding always is that what I really mean by so for example, our last conversation, the specifics doesn't matter, but it was something that you said in the thread, and then I said, well, I texted you privately and I said, well, you know, we shouldn't forget this. And then your response was along the lines of, you know, we shouldn't put so much stock into trying to save the world or do this thing. And as you were talking right now, I realized that with what was lost in translation is that what my true invocation to you was, we should also be aware of this. That's what I mean by not forget that, because like you said, it creates a different kind of field, and it then creates a different trajectory through the lifeline, or whatever history or whatever language you're going to use, whatever history our soul finds itself in. So we're in full alignment. There's a certain trajectory through the histories according to what we allow ourselves to be aware of. And I might start from answering a question that you asked Idan, Amanda, because for me, I think I'm the opposite of Idan. The journey started since I can remember myself. I remember standing, like these questions we're discussing right now, that's who I am. I remember standing, first of all, I remember things from ridiculously young age, which is, you know, something that even a few, you know, cognitive scientists told me that is impossible. I said, no, telling you, like I told my mom things since I was 1 year old. Like I remember that. And I remember standing in the middle of the kitchen when I was a toddler in Moscow, and I was standing and I was looking at the tiles, and I was looking back at my, kind of like looking from the tiles back at myself. This little gesture. Obviously, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, why this? Like, why me? Like, what is this? My whole life, that's who I was. And because, I don't know if it was because my grandfather was a physicist or because of other influences on the external world, but science really took a big portion of my attention early on. I was very fascinated by black holes. And so this little gesture that happened to me when I was a little kid was translated to asking, but what's outside of existence? And it's not even a thing that I do, it just happens to me automatically. If I sit down and I have nothing to do, the first thing my brain does is that. It's just automatic. It's like, what? Okay, but okay, how much do we understand? Okay, what's outside of it? What else can we understand? That's what my brain is doing. It's just it's nonstop. It can't stop. And because of this tendency to do things this way, I realized later in life, which is, we're all born with our journey, and I'm assuming now it's not a coincidence. Like you said, stutter is the best thing that ever happened to you. This is, I guess you can call it my impediment, because I can't. There is no floor for me. There is no floor. It's whatever you said, whomever it is. The second you say something, my brain goes, okay, what's the ultimate version of that? And then we're connected. We're tethered to that now. And now we're working with what are the implications of what you just said, at the ultimate way of things. And now what does that mean about reality, projected back? That's what my brain does automatically. And because I've created these enormous structures of what reality is, in some ways, I have a very clear picture of what you're saying or anybody else. But also it creates a handicap, because I can't be just here with you, because I'm automatically connected to this like ultimate version of it, which not necessarily has a lot of implications to going to work or doing the things that will give you $200 million. It's just, but it does seem to have this like infinite and, for most people, most of the time, irrelevant, image of what the world is. And when I went through my own traumas in life, there was a lot of violence involved. There was a lot of things that were happening to me, on a person level. But I could always escape to this place. So that was my safe place. So it's also home. So now you have this attachment to like understanding, to knowledge. And when I started my spiritual journey, I guess you can say, when I started really meditating and really going into the psychedelic world more through the lens of trying to understand, like really open yourself up to like, what else don't I understand? But now it had a different flavor. Now it wasn't so much about, I need to get this shiny piece of knowledge. It was more about like, how can this truly apply to me living a better life? So that question was asked seriously. I love how they bow infinitely. You just keep bowing, bowing, and it's just amazing. And that was the elevator. Even the elevator is super polite. So so to make it relevant to our conversation and to also tie the point, because otherwise we could talk about this for a long time, I'm constantly trying to reconcile. The question is, what is awakening, right? From this perspective that I just described to you, there are certain things. So the way that I see it, that we all bring our own gifts because they're part of the signature that we've honed as we were trying to overcome the things that was preventing us from proceeding, is the thing that allowed us to develop the tools that we can now bring to the table to help others understand certain things and see certain things so they can too get out of their own way. And that's how that's the divine plan, right? So for me, the awakening is us recognizing that and realizing that there is, even though we have our convictions, the whatever you want to call it, because now there's certain words that are like trigger words that you can't say in spiritual circles because people immediately go, oh no, not that. It's like you say knowledge, people like, no, not that, which to me is like silly. There's also divine knowledge. There's also like, obviously God understands something, right? Also mentally, by the way. It's just I 100% agree. You can't understand certain things beyond the mind, you said. I would modify it slightly. I would say you can't understand them with this mind.
Yes.
So if you're trying to become but that larger mind also has a mental component. It's not just the opening of the heart, and it also has like an understanding of what's happening. So I will end this point with this. I've had recently an experience on mushrooms and psilocybin. I haven't done psychedelics in a very long time, which is surprising to people because of the nature of what I mostly do now. But I've had this experience, and I asked very directly. I said, look, because of you guys, really, like because my interaction with Mickey and John and Idan and you, Amanda, like you said, you all have these very unique perspectives that are they're not necessarily opposite, or they're just orthogonal in a way. They're a different angle that I genuinely didn't consider in many ways. And because I really love you guys, I really I accept it, but I also sometimes it's hard because you're trying to inject your own idea. So I said, dare I ask you, can you please show me? And by show me, it knew what I meant. I meant, show me. I want to see the full thing. I really need to understand this. And this is, by the way, by no means to try and say, now let me tell you the ultimate truth. Because obviously the conversation that can be had with you is on the level that the more adult than you sees that you can entertain, right? So you're not going to sit your child and explain to them certain things that you can explain to an adult. You meet them where they are. So obviously what was shown was on the level that I can comprehend. But it was shown made sense to me, and I'm going to share this. It's actually pretty short. So what I've been shown is that there is this ultimate one Almighty. Funny enough, at least from what I've been shown, take it with a grain of salt, it's actually a she. And it wasn't ambiguous. I was very surprised by this. It was not. It was 100% she. And there's this hierarchy, very well-defined hierarchy of command, and it goes all the way down like a column, and it goes right through you. By the way, the other guy is included in this column, just so you guys know. But it's way down the column, and the biblical God is there somewhere a little bit, but all of them are beneath her. And then there's this column, and then there's this thing that all of it goes like an arrow down. It can see everything. The higher you are, you can see everything, right? And the ultimate point of contact with whatever exists is a choice. It's a choice whether you're looking at the external, trying to understand what's outside, and the internal, which is love, because you don't, it doesn't matter what's outside, you're here with whatever in fact is going on. So everything that the Eastern tradition would show. And it's a constant flux between this choice that you constantly have to make according to what's happening, and it vibrates to everything. And there is this attempt to reconcile, to find a state in which the choice does not need to be made. And what I see, what I got from it at least, the awakening is is the point in time, or whatever you want to call time on that level, in which the question was asked, and we are the fragments of the answers trying to collect themselves throughout the multiverse. And there's a point in which enough of the experience was collected, and now it turns back, and now it's trying to reintegrate. And that's why all of our personal versions, both all relevant, but also the bridges that they're now trying to build with each other to become back part of the thing that is trying to reconcile, that is the awakening. And it will take different forms on different levels. On the physical level, we'll build different technologies. On the personal level, we'll have different kinds of relationships. On the geopolitical level, we're going to have presidents who actually care, things like that. And this is the thing that works itself through the tapestry of everything, and it's trying to do the thing. And all of a sudden, when I saw that, it made sense of everything, for me at least, in terms of all the conversations that we've had and what we were trying to express it in different ways. And so that is, for me, that is awakening.
I love it. That was amazing. I know personally I can resonate with you, Danny, because I also do see it as a she as well. And when you talk about there's different levels in time, like throughout our lives that we call this awakening. It's like I just call them new activations, new upgrades, new things that are kind of you're becoming aware of, you're acknowledging. And it's an ongoing process. And so awakening is, like you said, it's just an ongoing process. And, I had a conversation with Mickey earlier where now looking back at my whole life, my higher self was always there. Always with me the whole entire time, leaving breadcrumbs since the time that I came into my mother's womb, came out, there was breadcrumbs being left. So really, is the awakening being birthed into earth? Is that truly the awakening? Like, what is it? I don't know. Or is it acknowledging that there's something greater outside of the physical self? I still don't know. And I leave the question open because it's not a question for me to answer right now. And so with that being said, I'm going to go to John and leave Mickey for last. Are you okay with that, Mickey?
Yeah, 100%. I also curious to
Just
hear
go,
your-
screw you guys, and just leave.
So are we changing the question right now?
No, it's still the same question. It's just from my perspective. I resonated a lot with Danny, so I wanted to share that right off the
Yeah,
bat
no.
and then go into.
Yeah, no, both of them resonate, right? They all make sense, and it's a little bit of both, right? For me, it's like being aware that there was something different going on at a young age, that I was seeing and feeling and experiencing things that nobody else around me was, and trying to shut it out because I wanted to fit in with everybody else, right? So kind of understanding early on, not wanting to be different, wanting to fit in, and kind of struggling with that. But also then later on getting aware of the fact that this is part of who I am and it's not going anywhere, right? So like you might as well start learning how to use it. So I think with awakenings, I think you kind of said some really good question right there, man. Like I think there's different levels of awakenings or understandings or being aware of what's going on at different stages, right? And I think what we're kind of alluding to, at least the conversation we've had in the past, is about experiencing 5D, right? Having that awakening, right? And for most of us, that's been fairly recent, or at least being aware of it. And I think most of us all had it through Mickey. But that was like the difference between that and everything else I've experienced in my life was that things were so much clearer, right? And it was something that my brain couldn't make sense of because it hadn't experienced anything like that before, right? But at the same time, there was also this knowingness of this stuff. There was more to it, right? Like, Danny, you talked about, being a young kid and asking these questions, and I kind of had similar ideas and similar beliefs. And, when you and I first met, I mean, that was one of the things we kind of dove right into, right? Was those same kind of questions, right? So it's like, it's so hard to put into words because like we're all talking about, it's like, you have to have the experience, right? And once you have the experience, you can kind of, there's a knowingness that you can kind of talk about, right? And I think that's the part that we're trying to make sense of and trying to explain is like, how'd you know? How'd you know this was different? Right? It was like this feeling, just this knowingness, like of I guess the best way to explain it was like realizing this whole time that I was playing a game, right? And the whole time I've been playing it, I didn't know I was playing a game. I didn't even know I was in the game, right? And now I'm aware of it. So I'm aware of how much more power I have within myself, but still not, I guess, having full understanding or awareness of how powerful I truly am and how much more there is to this, right? Because it's still, even according to you, Danny, like and I've kind of seen similar things where it's kind of this hierarchy, and I haven't seen as high as you have, right? So it's like, so where am I as far as awareness of this hierarchy, right? Like how am I like, is this still the beginning? Is this the middle? Is this near the end? Like where is this in that part of the journey? Where are we, right? I know I'm talking in circles.
No, just so you know, whenever you talk, I just want to give you this little, I don't know if you need it or not, but like when you talk, there's a very strong resonance. So just so you know, it always influences me a lot.
Good. I'm glad because you do the same for me. Yeah. So it's just, and I remember having this conversation not too long ago with Amanda. I was like, this is what I wanted to do, right? Like I wanted to have us have these kind of conversations, right? Because there's not too many people that are in my life, that are in this reality, they're in my awareness right now that I can have these conversations with, that don't look at me like I'm crazy, right? Or that there's something really, really wrong with me. So it's like the fact that you guys get to help me like see things in such a different way, like not in so much different ways, but just like a different angle, like, oh shit, that's so slick, right? Like I talk like this all the time with you, right? Like you just like, you're always come in at the right time and you just sprinkle just enough and then kind of bow out, right? Just to get you thinking in the right way and get things turning, right? And I just love that. And Danny, man and I were talking about you the other day, like your level of intelligence and the way you speak sometimes just like baffles me, like how truly intelligent you are, right? But it's like, but you also have a way of tying it in a way that you can understand, no matter who you are, you understand it, right? And I love that, right? Like, I love how much more I get to learn through you, through all of you, right? Through all your beautiful gifts, right? And I think that's the beauty of all of this, right? Is that we've all kind of found each other at the right time. We're all kind of, as we discussed before, kind of vibing at the right time and all on the same frequency. We kind of get where this is going. We're kind of in that flow and that rhythm, and it's like picking up. And the more we can let this energy run, the more we can let this frequency get out, right? And the more we can bring it, the more people it's going to attract, the more energy it's going to attract, right? And that's where the magic happens, right? That's where all this beautiful things that we see and want for ourselves and for the collective is how it all happens, right? We gotta let that energy flow. We gotta get that fire burning, so to speak, right? Let those flames take over. And I feel it, the more we talk, the more we do this, the more I feel my own energy just start to get bigger and stronger, right? So I don't know, it just feels really good.
That is exactly what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that closing, John?
Yeah, that's good for me. Let's let Nikki run with it for a bit.
There's a line, I'm sorry that I'm kind of in the middle, but there's a line that I feel is very relevant by, I think it was Karl Popper that said this, to your question of where is it that we are in the process. He said, I'm paraphrasing and it was in a slightly different context, but he basically said, it's the end of eternity, it's the beginning of infinity.
Wow. That's fucking dope.
I thought so.
Yeah. Wow.
Nikki, it's all yours when you're ready.
To hear all of you and feel your energies, and the wisdom and the expansiveness of the information that they shared here, felt through the distance, through the different timelines. I will start with saying that I'm really related to the way Danny is experiencing his what he really is, and I'm have a memory of myself at the age of 3, and telling my mother that I know why I came here, and it pointed at the lock at the door and said, "I will help humanity to open the lock." Few years goes by, and young adult, and challenges in reality appears, and we're going for a ride, going for a journey to find how can we make this experience more pleasing. Always thinking about self at the moment, at the time, and coming to a situation that they totally aware that this doesn't make any sense to me. That just, and as John said as well, trying to fit in, trying to learn the things, but it never really made sense, and I'm glad that I never bought into it. And now I'm standing in the awareness of that the awakening for me was, when this journey started, the awakening for me was to awaken to be the creator of your own reality. I heard it, it's stuck with me, it's stuck following Abraham Hicks, and it's couldn't leave me. It just kind of stuck into me. And obviously the Theta Healing, the coding, recoding the DNA, really helped to see the changes that we can do. And then I realized at some point that the system is really perfect. There's nothing wrong with the system. You can be awakened and let anybody else to take their time to be awakened. But what I also remember as being my mission on Earth is to change that, is to change the fact that nobody else will need to experience any more illusion of separation. And I feel that the energy that playing through art is looking for that, because what we are talking about, said by many others before, we are not saying anything new. The Buddha did the job for us by looking into the inner self and understanding that the reality outside of us is really dependent. It's really what inside of us. So any change that we do from the inside affecting the outside reality. But how many how many beings had the opportunity to try and practice these studies, these wisdoms, because of the nature of the reality that I was aware of, and still aware of. There are many humans and beings that will not be able to go through this opportunity if we will not step in and help. And we can wait for them to wake up and live around them. And many did it before us, but we can't, and this is why we're here. We just could not take it to ourselves. Each one of us awakened at some point, and some of us awakening every day, and some of us stay awake, but yet we're not doing it. We're not doing it to please ourselves. We're not doing it for ourselves, because it's so easy when you awake. Because when you awake, what is really awakening for me right now is the awakening that you're not just this body. You have much bigger existence of you, and this is the awakening for me. There is nothing wrong with the system that if you're not awake, the system is very fair, and you experience your reality, you experience in your life according to what you're ready to change in your DNA. But I'm aware that there's urge within all of us to break this pattern. And as a collective, as God experiencing life, we don't need it anymore. And this is why the AI is really a reflection to what's going on inside ourselves as we automate our things on the inside, so we can be aware of the outside of this body while this still automated, and we know how to function it now, as we know how to change the coding, how to change the reaction of the body to certain situations, so we can be awakened here and still be in harmony with everything else, and not in illusion of separation anymore. And we break the karma when we awaken by sharing the information with others in a way that they will receive it perfectly, and we not in a way that we hire, because to me same opportunity window that opened previous time when we went from three-dimensional, from survival to mental, to work with the mind. When the door opened for the mind, the guys that had access to that, not with judging them, but they got it for themselves. They capitalized it for themselves, and the energy the power walked through them, and there is no judgment about it. This is what's happened. This is what I'm aware of. But when we go in there and I'm aware of that, in my point of awareness, I'm saying, no, this is not just me. This is not just mine. This is everyone's. And from now on, I want to share whatever I have in my awareness. And when I'm in that state, I'm also aware of everything else shared with me. And at this point, we can understand how we break the karma by going there and sharing it with the sleep. And now I would like to open a conversation. Who is asleep? Can the awakened be without the sleep? Can the awakened be awakened without the sleep? And what is their role in all process? Because they do have a role in their process. And what is the best way to work together? Each one of us have a different way of experiencing reality and see the reality. And I don't think, and I don't feel that it's going to change, because it's so unique and so beautiful, that it's important to keep the uniqueness and the power within ourselves. But we can learn how to navigate through these differences while we accept that each one of us in different reality, and how can we help each other to enjoy the reality more and have a way for everyone to have the same tools to enjoy their reality. So I really would like to open the conversation of about the sleep, because the sleep is the other half, and part of it, for me, it couldn't exist. And maybe we'll go in the same circle, different one. And I would like to hear your opinion about what do you feel about the sleep, and how can we work with them, and what's really helping them, and what's helping us, and go from there.
Can I jump in? Yeah. So the sleep, right? So when people, I mean, myself, I've been asleep for so many years. I went through my life that this is what it is, black and white. We were born, we're going to die, it's going to end. We need to make as much money as we can. We need to do that, and that's it, we're done, right? So I was asleep. And I'm thinking, even if my own journey, right? If I didn't go through my own experience, through the hardship, and again, I don't know. I can only say it looking backward, right? So it's not like I have an exact answer, but this is from my own experience. If somebody came to me and tried to heal me through that process without me going through my own experience, kind of burning my own karma in a way, for saying, right? So go through the hardship and trying and hear that, and then having that moment of awakening. And I think awakening, I think it's easy way to summarize it, is awakening to ourselves, right? To who we really are, right? If it's many dimension, if we are part of something bigger, or we just awakening that we are not a thought, or we're not an ego, right? But let's look at this awakening to there's something much bigger than play. It's not just this black and white and hardship that we're going through the day. So I think there is, when somebody is asleep, I think everybody is going through exactly what they're supposed to go through.
Yes.
I think their journey is beautiful. If somebody is asleep, and maybe this is exactly what he needs, and maybe 5 years from the day that he's asleep, something will happen, and he's going to be ready to be a little bit more awake and see that, right? So I think there is a beautiful thing in respecting people's journey, right? Now, so that for the people that sleep. The other part of it, when you start kind of realizing that life is not exactly how I thought it is, and you start finding your inner peace of fulfillment and some level of success, whatever you want to call it, not necessarily money level of success, but relationship and openness and these beautiful feelings that we can have that are internal and not dependent on the external. I think what comes out of it is it's kind of like a natural way of, I want to share it. This thing feels so good. Life doesn't have to be this way. So it's a natural thing. And I think, I mean, almost every person that I talk to that went through some process is like, I want to share it with people. This is amazing, right? Life doesn't have to be this way. So I think it's a natural process that is kind of, in a way, it's built into this thing, because you're seeing and you're saying, okay, if I thought that I'm this small thing, and now I'm seeing, I'm experiencing that's more expensive thing, I'm not different than you, right? So now I'm seeing you the same way. So even when somebody comes to me and says, I'm having a hard day and this is what's going on and I'm a victim and it's all happening to me, I know that he's much bigger than what is playing in front of me right now. At the same time, I'm respecting his journey, right? So there's a lot of compassion that comes in. Like, I'm not playing God that I'm trying to change everybody's life. I just went through a process and I'm experiencing life now in a different way. I recognize when I was sleeping, that's the biggest gift that I got, right? Because I needed to go through, apparently I need to go through something to get to this point. So there is this level of respect, but I think there is something very, very special. And I think this is a big thing that we can bring, we're already bringing, is still holding the space for people, or seeing them for who they really are. And not getting lost into this, I'm a victim, it's a hard day, this is what's going on, or somebody said something to me. You know that the only thing that he does is projecting his inner mess right now outside of the world. right? So the judgment, in a way, this disappears. When somebody sees himself as something small, you still see them for who we are. And I think just by holding that space, that energy, there is changes happening, right? As we say that we are all connected all the time, this is all one. Every time that somebody is getting more insight and more awakening to who he really is, we are keep adding into this communities.
The Wi-Fi connection, the collective connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the mana. Once you connected, as soon as you mention something, as soon as you open up, the download is already there.
Right. Okay. So just by going through this process alone, I think that is the biggest gift that everybody can give. Like, I'm thinking about people that showed up on my journey, right? I mean, I had not so many people, but a few people on my journey that thankfully they saw me as something that is much bigger than I saw myself. So they created the space for me, and they held that space for me to go through my, internal fights and not understanding and here and there. And they're like, okay, Dan, we understand that you're going through right now. You're going to be fine. We got you.
Yeah.
Right? That created that space for me. So I think that this is a huge gift, because when somebody go through this victimhood and I'm upset and everything, and you are going back at him, right? What we do is we just crystallize the separation. We just make the separation more real. But when somebody is going through his sleepiness type of behavior, and you're still there for him, and you're not judging him, and you're accepting him just the way you are, the way he is, and you're just knowing that he's much, much bigger, I think just that by itself create a beautiful change or awakening.
Beautiful. Yeah, 100% aligned with you. And yeah, everything. I feel that when they sleep, waking up, and they connected to this Wi-Fi, the collective, and they understand that they are more than just the body. What's happened at the moment of this thing that opens up is that all of a sudden you have access to all the coding, and then you're going through all these changes in the body that the things get updated, but you're also realizing that every time that you admit or find something that within you and just open with it and not pushing it away, just by being connected, this is the solution. This is the being connected to the collective, and there is nothing for you to do but recognize it within you and ask, and it shall be given. Yeah. So totally aligned with you. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I jumped in, but Danny, it's your.
If I may add something, and maybe it's not even add, honestly. It's maybe just giving my version of what I second everything Idan said. Or what I heard Idan say is that we have to meet people where they are. Because it can be very frustrating if you fall down and you hit your knee on the curb, which if you happen to, it's all you want to do is curse. You're like, what? And then somebody comes to you and goes, oh, but you can feel really good if you just don't worry about your knee. It was like, bro, I'm gonna throw your knee on the curb right now. So see how you do. So for me, it's always the recognition that sometimes the pain that people are going through is something that I may even not be able to understand, and there's a certain attitude. It's certainly true that you don't want to lower, to speak the spiritual language, because it's not my tendency, but it's certainly true that you don't want to lower your own vibration to match some kind of a tone that the person is speaking, so they feel at home, and then you can take them from there, because that's counterproductive. You're taking down the collective enlightenment by taking yourself into that state. But I guess that's where the difference between compassion and and empathy, which is you want more compassion and not necessarily a lot of empathy. And the example that though is given is you know, if somebody's sitting and crying and you just want to sit there and cry with them, it might make them feel better for a moment that somebody you know, empathizes with them. But a much more compassionate thing to do is to actually understand the why they're crying and help them move to a state in which they don't have to cry. And sometimes on the surface of it, whatever action you have to perform, it doesn't have to be, but sometimes it might even look the opposite of empathy. Because maybe what they need is just you're sitting on a, I'm gonna think of something silly because nothing better comes up, but you're sitting on an anthill, you know, and they're like, and they refuse to move, and you're like, the compassionate thing to do is actually forcefully removing them. It's not to let them keep sitting there. And I think that distinction is not always made. And it's certainly difficult to discern when it's, you know, when such drastic measures are required. But I always like to keep this example in my mind because sometimes they are required. And it's the pretending you don't know the thing you know is also a form of lack of compassion. Because you taking away something that the collective already understood. Because obviously, whatever you know, the collective knows. So if you pretend to not know it, then you adding suffering. And here's the perfect example, right? And it's not that I always like to give these counter examples because I think that it's almost like you have to live in a paradox. The paradox is, well, if you're the one, right, you can just, like you said, do nothing and or become more of what you are, and everything will just happen. But then the paradox is like on your personal experience level, it does feel like you're making choices to do this or that or something else. And which one is it? Well, the answer is, I think this is something that you guys already said today a few times, and I fully agree with it, which is that the second that you get to this place where you know that what you feel is the right track, and it's self-evident. It can't be anything else. Like you said, it feels so good that it's, you know, it's you can't not share it. It's the impulse automatically arises from being in this state of openness towards the thing. But I just wanted to add that tiny thing, which is, even though you feel so amazing, sometimes when you see somebody who's like sitting on that anthill, for that 1 second, they might hate you for moving them, but like, just sometimes it's okay to move them. And I personally think that's part of how we can help sometimes.
Yeah. So just quickly, can I jump back in? I think if somebody sits on the antler and you walk by, I think this situation is for you, not really for them. Right? So the way
do you want to respond, or you just want, because I don't necessarily agree. It's also for them. Like it's also for them. Like they're suffering obviously in front of you. Right?
Yeah. But it's we live, even though I know that we feel that we live in the same place and we all see the same thing and it's all happening. Yes, we all go through our own experience, but everything that is put into my awareness is for, in a way, my own evolution, right? So this person that sits there on the antler, or somebody that is suffering, or somebody go through something and it comes into my awareness, is usually, it's not what I can teach them, is what can I learn, what can I take in, how can I evolve from that moment, right? Because maybe the perfect, in his own experience, that's exactly what he needs to do. And maybe the best thing for him is not for somebody to take him away from the antlers. He needs to stay and sit on it for some more time Now, I'm not saying it's the right answer or the wrong answer.
No, of course.
It's not walking around and saying, okay, what can I teach people around me, right? It's
No. Yeah. It's not what I meant. It's
Yeah.
just
No,
that by your own logic, it would also mean that if you do decide to move them, there was also something that needed to happen for them. They chose that too. So
Yeah.
you can't see, the logic basically runs. It's like a tautology. It's like, if you can't do the wrong thing, then don't worry about it at all. But we are obviously saying things right now in the capacity that we have to experience a personal world as well. And in that capacity, and by the way, just so you know, I actually have a specific example in mind, because I didn't know, I wasn't so sure. I'm never so sure, by the way. I don't know if it always comes across this way, but I'm actually not that sure. I'm always keeping that door open. But I've had an example of a person who I've known for a long time, and they're one of these people that they always sit on an anthill, but like big time, like they suffer a lot. Mostly, of course, unnecessarily so at all, but like deep suffering all the time. And I've had a moment with them a few months ago, actually. I've known them for 17 years, that person. And we've been through a lot of things, and I've seen him go through a lot of things. And out of the blue, because, the backstory is that I always used to kind of like trying to move them from the anthill, which is like, forcefully, like they're like insisting on suffering, and I can always let them, but I don't know, something in me, I was like, no, like I would lecture them, I would do, and then a few months ago, he sent me a text randomly, and he said, "Thank you so much for never giving up on me." So it was always there. Like, they don't know how to move, but they're like, please keep trying to move me, because I'm trying.
Okay. Got it. So there was a request that came in a way. I need help. I'm stuck.
Not in a
And
physical.
that was his way of like, if you
Got it.
wouldn't, and I'm fully with you, just so you know. I'm fully with you. It's not about walking around the earth with a righteous feeling of I'm gonna help everybody, like you told me one time. It's the being aware that there's a lot of different situations.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm emphasizing this one, the only reason, is because nobody does, or not a lot people. It's like I don't hear that. So whenever there's like this is the marginalized idea. so I'm trying to bring it back into the community to say there are different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
We shouldn't forget that one too. Definitely don't start walking around like, hey, how can I help you? I don't need your help. No, let me help you. That's not what
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, no forced help.
Yeah. But just stay sensitive, I'm saying to everybody. Just stay
Yeah.
sensitive. Sometimes
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amanda.
Yes. So coming off of that, the question that comes to mind for me is, do you think we already can connect to everyone's higher self? Because my whole life, my past was a personal trainer. So I had people coming to me wanting to get in shape, wanting to do this, all these huge goals, right? And I saw them at their higher self. I knew their potential. And I know John can also resonate with me as being a coach. We always seen people at their highest potential, but it was like, now how do we get them there? And that was from get them to see their highest potential, because in order for them to receive their goals, they had to see their highest potential too. They knew that they that's what they wanted. So going back to being what you were talking about, like, now that I've gone through a lot of this in the last 3 to 4 months, can we talk to their higher self? Can we have that conversation and help them to connect to the body more, to be more awake, to actually connect to what we are trying to connect to their higher self? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we do,
can try.
right? I think we do. I think that's part of the reason why we meet the people we meet, right? And as far as helping people who are asleep, sometimes it's a smile, right? It's a wave, right? It doesn't have to be this full awakening, right? There's this process of something huge, right? It could just be something small, or you happen to have a conversation with them and you talk about a book, and now they want to read that book, and now because they read that book, they start to ask themselves the questions, right? So I think that, to answer your question, I think we already do, right? I think our higher selves are talking, and like, because that higher self couldn't get to the body to wake that themselves up, they needed us or someone like us to have whatever it is, right? To meet them wherever they are, to create that little spark, right? To
Sprinkle the
plant
dust.
that seed. Yeah, exactly. Like whatever it is, right? To
The
get
awakener.
that momentum going. Yeah, to get it started, right? Like, and to kind of go back to, we were talking about like you meeting them where they're at, because not everybody's journey is the same. Not everybody's here. Not this lifetime for everybody is there a lifetime to wake up. You don't know what their lifetime was before this, or their lifetime is after this, right? So it's like you don't know what's going on in their life, right? So it's like, just be the love that you want to be, and then allow them to be whoever they need to be, right? Like, and I know I fought with this when I was first going through this, because I just wanted to share it with everybody, like, and how great I felt and how much love I had, and I wanted everybody I knew, and even the people I didn't know, right? Like, I wanted everybody to feel it. So I was obnoxious as fuck, right? I wasn't meeting anybody where they wanted to be at all. I was like, no, you're coming with me, like, fuck that, get on the bus, right? Like, so I totally, like, I understand the opposite side of this, where I was like not even close to meeting people where they needed to be. And now, having some more time and more awareness, it's like, I was just dealing with one of my best friends today, and we had a similar conversation about this stuff. And it's just where he is and where he feels like he's stuck and he can't go, right? And it's like, he's not willing to hear anything else right now, right? And I have to be okay with that. And for a long time I wasn't, right? And now I'm like, all right, brother, like, this is where you are. And the same thing with my family right now. It's like, it's coming back and being around family, is, as you guys, we've talked about, it's like, that's your fucking wake up call, right? Let's see how you really feel. Let's see how much love you really have. How unconditional are you, right? How much, and like, for so long I was trying to force my family to get it, because I wanted to get it, because I love them so much. And now it's like, all right, like, you're where you are, right? And I just gotta let you be there. And just love you for being there.
I just want to say about Idan that this is actually I told you this is done in private, but like, this is one of the things that I truly admire about you, that you brought it into your family in a way that is fully integrated. And I'm sure it wasn't a straight line, but I saw your relationship with your wife, with your kids. It's like this, it's so up. It's in the fabric of the family now. And even the Buddha said, I quote, the Buddha said, if you think you're enlightened, go visit your family for a weekend. Go visit your parents for a weekend. So I just wanted to express that, because I've had my own turmoil with my family, and I watched that, and I'm really blown away by this. It's really beautiful to watch.
So what opened up for me, I mean, exactly, John, as you said, every time that I had a new insight, I used to come home and like, everybody sit down, you guys need to listen, this, what's going on, and here and there. And then I understand that just a deep level of acceptance and love.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we need. And this is something very beautiful and powerful, especially when you come from a place that you really see somebody beyond the way they see themselves, and you accept them really the way they are. Because you understand that it's just perfect. That's exactly what's supposed to happen, right? So just being there with them, that I think is what's magical about it. And kind of I think a great add-on to this conversation, if you guys open to share it, like, how is your life kind of before starting to see I know that some of you had it in a very early age, but things shift in life.
I just want to add something to the
Yeah.
sleep. I didn't have a chance before we go into that.
Yeah.
So I can combine kind of all of your opinions and say that for me, sleep is really awake more than what we think, because while the person, the mind, the body mind are not aware of themselves, the other part is much bigger, and it's watching every single step of what's happening, and it's actually helping us in a way to be in a position that we can now experience, that we can share with others. So we couldn't exist without the sleep, and I also feel that when the sleep is waking up, he's waking up with more information, with more insight, because he went and spent time in the sleeping mode collecting the information for a longer time. So there is no sleep really to my point of awareness. The sleep is sleep in our reality for us to see what we do with it. And in terms of what to do in each situation, this is the connection to the Wi-Fi. And this is what Mana is training all about, is that we really not doing anything. The situation that playing through us put us in a situation of here is a way for you to now choose where you're gonna go, and now you can allow it to play through the best of the highest best of you and all, or you can say no, I'm actually gonna resist it and stay in the same loop of the reality, for good and bad, because sometimes we're experiencing good reality and we're ready to we stay in it. So we kind of, it's okay to stay because we enjoy the reality. Why not? But if we stay in the reality and we don't like it, it means that we holding on to something. We're not letting something pass, because we're constantly shifting. The nature of the reality is constantly changing. The only thing that recreating the same reality is the mind. There is nothing else. Sorry, Dan. I just really wanted to.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. So, what was your question? I wasn't really listening.
No, so that was great, by the way. Yes. My question is, and I think, what's the changes in your life, right? So there is kind of, we'll call it sleeping just for the conversation, and then start awakening and seeing like, okay, wow, I can create my life. This can change. The love that I feel is coming from a different place. Like, how did it play out in your life? Like, what's the shift that you guys experienced? Let's say,
Before we answer, did you answer the sleep question?
I did.
Oh.
And I opened it up to a question about
Oh,
sleep.
right, okay. It's the sleep deprivation. See?
Who would like to start?
Why don't you, Amanda?
That's perfect. Oh man. I noticed when I started seeing everything around me change. Like the people around me, the more love, like more situations and stuff. I just noticed them changing. And like through like this whole like awakening process, I've gone into it hardcore, and then I've fallen off, went back asleep for a couple of years, gone back. And through that time and looking back, I noticed that even in the times that I was sleeping, I still had a lot of fun, but I also held on to a lot of pain. And now I feel like I've let go of a lot of that pain, and now I acknowledge and I see so much outside of myself, and the reflection outside of myself. And it's still happening. I'm not there yet. Let's just say that. There's so much more to come for me in my life, to see more of what is happening within myself as the reflection starting to appear. So it's just been an on and off. Is that what am I answering that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the release of the pain, is that was a long process? Is that was a easier process once you realize what's happening here? How was the release of the pain part, right? Because once we
Oof.
release the pain, there's room now for
Yeah, it's been the last 6 months of that. I and I thank both John and Mickey for being there with me through those times that I needed, because it was a very extremely vulnerable place for me, releasing the pain that I've held on to, and because I've been a very independent person my whole life, like this life, that everything that led me up to here led me to show me that I have to be an independent woman, the realities I was in. And when I realized that I didn't have to be independent anymore, I could let go of those masculine energies and start healing the deeper things. Yeah, it felt good.
What is that ultimate? Do you mind if I ask you? Because you said you're not there yet. Do you have an image of what there is? Do you think that we'll reach like full enlightenment
That's a
in
good
our
question.
lifetime?
That's a good question. And I think it's an ongoing process until the day I leave this plane of existence. It's ongoing. Like, because really, our soul's eternal. Infinite, right? So we pop in, we pop out. We pop in, we pop out.
Well, what is the process
So does that
towards?
ever
If we
really
feel that
truly
there's a
die?
development, right? So do you feel that the soul also goes to an evolution, just like living things do?
Yes.
Oof.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Energy.
Of course.
It has to.
And energy is itself is a self-learning, self-developing, evolvement is part of everything, and we don't have to think or read too much to see it, because it's all around us. There is nothing that is staying in place. Everything is changing all the time. It's either
But it's not eternal.
Say again?
But it's not eternal like you're postulating about the soul. That's the difference.
This. It's not eternal. The
What's not
physical
eternal?
part is not eternal.
The things that you see developing and changing, they're not eternal, and that's why they're developing and changing.
Of course, they're internal. Give me an example of something that's not internal.
All the forms, all of nature, it's all recycled, right? So you can say that nature is part of this eternal process, but the different forms, they come and go. I guess I'm asking because I'm always interested in the. I think that we're entering a stage that something is truly different now, even for people who don't have any spiritual predispensations. Either in the form of like a few days ago there was the disclosure about aliens. They spoke to the Congress. There's like an official, you have the right on the horizon. You have the development of AGI, artificial general intelligence. All of these things, they seem to be pointing in this like direction that says, no, something really different is about to happen. It's not like people were convinced of that back in the day. It's not the same. Something really is different. So I guess that was because my sense that it's like that's true. Like something is about to occur physically that will also have like a manifestation that is coming from above, of course. And I was just curious about you guys. That's why I asked Amanda, what is that thing that you feel that is a part of? Just curious to see what you guys if you have like an impression beyond what you usually say about it, which is like it's part of the awakening.
But sorry, back to the eternal. Why is the nature is not internal? In the nature adjusting itself as we go. So yes, the trees are dying, but they getting
because eternal means what the word means. It doesn't have a beginning or an end. And if it doesn't have a beginning or an end, you can't measure development, because development is from a beginning to an end. That's why. The reason I left that aside, because that's more of like a philosophical like point, but that would be why, because you can't develop something that doesn't have a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
So-
So I would.
But is
I would
that
say that
also
the-
3D thinking?
The what?
But is that also thinking on a 3D level, right? On a
But
this
you
is where
see,
our
this
brain
is
is level.
but well, first of all, on the 4D level, because you also have time. But this is where you see, this is the conversation takes a different flavor, because
Right.
the whole conversation about D, you mean something very different by what the word usually means, because dimension means degrees of freedom. So in that sense, your mind is also infinite in its dimensions, because your taste is one dimension, your smell is one dimension. Like, what do you mean by dimensions? Because I don't know what that means. So the reason I let that go is because we are having a different kind of conversation, and what I'm interested in here is to see if we can, just like we all asked questions that we were interested in.
Right.
From the other's point of view, I'm genuinely interested to see if you have an image. It's not about, I'm not trying to necessarily nail down a concept. I just want to know if, from your own experience, if you have an impression of what it is. Like I can tell you from my perspective, I think we're about to go into like a world 2.0, in which literally it's going to be upgraded. The people, like everything that Bashar is talking about, which is you're going to have, like, for different people who are ready, this literally the world will look different. Like physically, it will look different. Like you will have maybe closer to what we see on mushrooms, like more clear, more crisp, more beautiful. There's going to be more essence to it, but that's just how it's going to be naturally.
Yep.
And then you're going to feel more love, but then through that state, we're going to build more environment-aware technologies. And we're going to step into the galaxy as our new home. We're going to actually start exploring different stars. And all of this is going to be accompanied by this new way of doing things. So, but this is just kind of like, I have some ideas about what it might be. So that'll be an example of my idea of what it is. And I was wondering if you guys have this kind of an idea.
That's a great question, because when you say like, where do I see myself? Like, that's where I see. That's kind of reaching that point is where I feel like I'm still working my way towards. So yeah, I agree with you, Danny, that's kind of that next space I step into. Or is it the space that I help other people get there?
But even if, let's forget about where we're going to go for a second. Okay, if we just look at the past even 10, 20 years, does the world looks very different to you today compared to 10 years ago?
Yeah, but it's hard to say if it's not part of a development that people usually go through. No, or you think we can discern?
Are you saying like there's a way it looks different, or because of who you are and where you are, it's different, right? Like, because obviously who I was as a 20-year-old and who I am now are two totally different, right? Because of maturation, right? So are you talking about does the world look different, like through my eyeballs? Like, do the colors look different? Is that what you're asking? Or are you saying does it look different because of where I am now?
All of it. So
all of it?
I think that Danny, I'm answering for you, but I think from your question is all of it is going to change, right? So I think
your perception of the world, exactly. And
so my perception of the world changed dramatically even 6 months ago, and then it doesn't look the same. Even when I'm outside, it doesn't look the same, right? My experience of the world doesn't look the same.
Yeah,
I think
now there is that change. So I think there is the content of our life, right? Are we driving cars? Now we're going to fly airplanes. Are we using this computer? Now we're going to have that computer.
No. The quality of the things will go up.
So that's why I'm trying to, instead of having assumptions, we can just look at the past 100 or 200 years and look at the level of evolutions that we've been going through and the level of development that we put into place. Every time that we're able to build a different computer, we are able to do so many new things. So I think it's just going to continue and accelerate. And I'm just looking at the past, and I'm saying, okay, if the past move in, let's say, in a rate of the past 100 years change in a rate of 20 miles an hour. I'm just using it as an example, right?
I get what you're saying.
With the speed of development, now things will move in a speed of 80 miles an hour, just because of our opening and how we connected all over the world. I mean, today I can put out a video, right? And 1,000 people can watch it tomorrow. That wasn't a part of our life 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
So there is, I mean, so we can just look at the past 100 years. Now, in a sense of our awakening, right? More, as much as there is more, we'll call it, I think everything is for the good, right? But just for this conversation, as we have bad things happening in the world, I don't think there's bad things happening in the world. There is a lot more good. There's a lot more awakening. There's a lot more, I mean, we can hear somebody like Bashar, we can have our conversation and the community that we build around us. And there's a lot more opening, and that opening more capacity within us. Right?
Do you think it's opening? Do you think it's opening also the possibility for literally more like different laws of physics? Do you think that if we develop to a certain level, we'll be able to go faster than light just because we developed to that level?
Yeah.
I think it's all up for grab. I think I mean, part of this awakening, right? You wake up to who you really are. And you wake up to see this, the ease of change, this, I'll call it 3D reality or 4D, whatever you want to call it, right? You can actually influence it just with your mind. You can influence it just by changing your emotional DNA, right? So we're waking up to more of that and says, hold on, I can change everything in my life, whatever it is, just by going inward and making some internal changes, and everything is going to change around me. So what this is telling us about reality, right? I'm going through my own life experience. If you asked me 15 or 16 years ago, I thought that reality is a concrete. It is what it is. Like there's no, for me to change something is like, I need to go and break walls and do stuff and make the changes. And today I live in a place that if I just change my knowing about what's going on here, everything shift.
So are you open to the possibility that if you change yourself enough, you'll be able to walk through walls?
I think everything is up for grab. Again, I that's why
I'm not resisting it. I'm genuinely asking you. At this point, I
like to speak about things from a point of view of real experience, right? So I'm not, again, I don't know. And there is, and also another disclaimer, I don't really know anything. Right? I mean, we have in all this conversation, we're saying, I don't really know anything. I just know my own experience.
Right.
Right. No, I agree with you. I just say, I was wondering the degree to which, I mean, I would always say that you know something that is relevant to the moment. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is, like Mickey says, you don't need to know anything else that is not relevant to the moment. You want to empty the cup every time that it's not relevant to what needs to happen, which is exactly what the Buddha said. And, I've had experiences from which it was very clear that that's definitely the case, because there's, there's no problems, there's no this. But I guess I'm playing which is a very easy position for me to assume here, because I do think that you guys took it to a different level. To what you said, Idan, that like, even though some of you had it like early on, I didn't have the stuff that you're talking about. I've never had the wall going wobbly without me being on acid or something. In that sense, I do think that you guys took it to like a much more developed level than I currently have in that state. So I'm asking these questions because I know that there might be people listening, those bridges, that didn't have point of contact with these kind of things. And I want them to maybe feel that there's a voice that also expresses their like interest.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that, and it's funny, look, I wanted to go to the same place, but I wanted to go through the releasing of the pain, right? So it's funny because I asked Amanda about her experience and releasing the pain. So to make it into a real experience and how you let it go, there is opening up, you're allowing for new things to come online, right? Yeah. So I went to the pain, you went up here to the...
Yeah. I think the pain is the big one. You're right.
Yeah. because a lot of people, I mean, one of the things that I'm seeing is we going and we having these beautiful experiences, right? Very connected, feeling one with everything, right? Becoming who we are. But then we go back and we wake up from it and we go back and fighting with life, right? Or we're not manifesting what we want in life, right? I think this is the play between the two, is the ability to take this energy and then manifest it into this world, right? And that's where the pain, the thought patterns, the emotional DNA, it's something that we don't have to, but the way I experience it is, okay, there is this place of nothingness, is a place of all of it, and now there is the manifestation into this reality, right? And the tool that we manifest them through, this is the beautiful thing about the ego. I don't see the ego as good or bad, right? Each one of us came as a piece of the puzzle with some innate abilities, with some things that this is your play in this playground, right? So Danny, you bring your uniqueness. John, each one of us bring the uniqueness that we got. But this is how we channel the energy into something here, right? So that's why I think there is a beautiful dance between the two. So we cannot understand reality through the limited mind, but we can express into reality through this ego, we'll call it.
That's the only way that you can express reality, through the ego. There's nothing else that creating reality on this plane.
Right.
There's everything that you experience with your body. There is nothing else that create the reality but the ego.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because everything is there already. All the possibilities, all the realities are there, and the quality of them is growing and evolving and changing, because it is the energy of all. But what we can experience is just by the mind. So all the physical manifestation is the brush, as we talked about it when we met. The brush is the ego. Now, how much you press the brush or not press, how much color do you take? This is all the art of reality creation, and this is why it's so perfect. There's no change needed. We're not trying to criticize the system and say something wrong. There's nothing wrong in the system. As you said it, Dan, like, there's nothing needed. You just stay there and you see that this is God experiencing life, and that's it. By seeing someone as you see yourself, that's all you need ever to do. But yet we are talking and having a discussion about how we help spread the information. So it's really energy that's walking through us, that we understand that there is nothing needed by staying us, but there is energy that's walking through us and trying to find ways how we can spread this knowledge, because it could get to us, it could find the ways through us, and now it's looking to change it. So it's not this body, it's like, and nothing that we are really planning or doing. It's just staying connected and let the energy play through us.
I just had a technical thought. What if the reason that we need to awaken this, why do we need to dissolve the ego? What if the upgrade requires us to, for a second, become a little more fuzzy, so we don't so pinned down to the thing, so it can take us to the next thing?
Yes.
And then after that, you can reform like a ego 2.0, but it's like a enlightened ego. It's like
This is what's happening, brother. This is what's happening. It's exactly it, because as soon as you see the reality as a raw reality, there is nothing else. Then you know that the ego is painting it. So really, the first stage to help people is to understand that everything that you experience it's the interpretation, your unique interpretation of it. And if you just erase it and start giving different interpretations, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, as much as you can afford it, the reality will bend, and then you'll break this cycle that you need to change something within the reality, and that's it. The game is over at the right there. When I say game over, that you will never push the outside reality anymore, because it will not feel comfortable as it was changing something within yourself.
I have a question. So, because I thought about this a lot, and it's mostly with conversations I've had with you and Idan. What this, and maybe it's just probably a product of my own shortcomings of not allowing myself to develop to that level. But it seems to me personally, I don't want to live in a world that doesn't have any stakes. Like it's if anything goes, it's completely pointless. Like there's no meaning to it. It's just like Idan, the example you gave me with the slide, that was a perfect example, because that actually made it click for me. Just I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like the example Idan gave me is, he said that you're on this slide, and you can keep trying to hold on, and every time you hold on, it's like it burns your hands, and you're like and you're trying to, and you just let go, just let go, and every time you let go, it's like woo, you start going. but then and it's a beautiful image, but then the question is like, if anything is happening, obviously it's for something, otherwise it wouldn't be part of the divine plan. So why, like you want to live in a world in which it's just whatever, like there's no stakes, there's no.
Who said it?
But why?
I'm asking.
Oh,
because maybe I didn't understand.
So for me the really thing, the real goal is to experience the realities that brings me joy and joyful to me, and the experience of the reality. So how can we get to the situation where we know that we don't know, and all we know is that we don't know? So you deconstruct yourself, and you understand, and you, as Idan saying, let's look backwards. So I'm looking backwards in my life and saying, so far I've been trying to change everything outside of me. Didn't work for 30 something years. So now let's stop trying to push things that are around us, and let's try to change something else, because we're all trying to improve our realities. We're all trying to live more joyful and more harmony with everything around us. And this is the nature of our being. We always gonna try for more balance and more harmony with everything else around us, in more joyful way for us and everybody else. And by just following that, you understand that, oh my God, the reality is not working from changing it. It's working by changing the brush, as you mentioned, that changing the way you accepting the reality, and now you're changing the brush. Okay, I understand that I can draw the reality and experience whatever you want with this reality. Obviously, there are still resistance, and there is still things to deal with, but you're dealing with it in a way that you getting more like used to how to navigate with this, if it make any sense. Like it's a tool that you're receiving, and you recognize that it's not you anymore. It used to be you because you got involved with this identity for many years, but now you're kind of stepping out and saying, oh my God, I can use it, and I can go back inside and I can recode it, and I can go back outside and keep using it. So this is what is it for me. The ultimate is to experience the realities that you want to experience, and moving between the realities in a faster way, that you don't have to be stayed in the reality for a long time. Because you experience the reality, if somebody wanted to experience how is it to live to zero, to live at the now, you don't have to experience it for all your timeline, like for this physical body. The body now can adjust itself for different dimensions, different frequency, different vibrations, and we have the ability to do it, so it can travel between different reality, different dimensions, and experience all that while you're still in this physical body awareness.
We can also, yeah, we can also look at it from, let's say, the I, right? The awareness is for eternity. No time is always in a certain place. And then every so often, we can send a part of us into this physical reality, right? So going from a floating place that every thought, everything just become a reality in a way, because it's all thoughts. Now we're coming into this dense reality. And we go through this unique experience where we have in hardship and we're actually seeing and we're feeling like we're touching and we're going through a hard time and a good time. It's magical. I know that some of it can be a lot of pain to it, right? But it's magical, right? I went through a situation, if it's my wife and my kids or my family before that, it's wow, like what a gift to go through these situations. I mean, and some of them are really difficult situations but you know, it's beautiful moments that we're actually here to experience. Just being on the beach, touching the sand, feeling this thing, it's amazing thing. And the level of connection and intimacy, to be vulnerable with other people, what a gift, right? So in one way, there is something in the Bible that says, you know, I'm terrible in quoting things, but the overall saying, God is saying to one of his kids, he says, leave the house and come back when you want to come back. Right? Because when you come back on your own, this is where you get to really experience the depth of the experience that you can have as a person that's really understanding what's happening here, right? Because we're going from a place of not really being here. We really, for a lot of people, what we call sleeping is you just experience your own thoughts. You don't even experience the reality in front of you.
Yes.
Right thing, because the same way that our heart is pulsing all the time, right? The mind, or at least part of the mind, is thinking all the time. The thoughts comes up all the time. If you're not creating that space, that awareness, you're not even living in reality. You're living in your head. You just keep experiencing thoughts after thoughts after thoughts after thoughts. That's what gives us the feeling of timelines. Right, I had one experience in one of the meditation that it felt to me that somebody comes behind me, put his hands and basically move all the thoughts aside. I'm like, okay, now I understand what is the moment, what is now, because the thoughts create the feeling of before and after. Right? If I just hear, if I just see, if I just experience, wow, it's a gift. Right? So with a limited mind, we're here because, you know, we have to improve things. We need to change things. We need to do something. There is a risk of death or life or stuff or here. But this is from a limited point of view of actually what is right in front of us. Right? So I think John said before, like where these questions are coming from, right? It's not good or bad, but just view this question and understand, okay, there's some question that will come. Is the same way that when you're being present with somebody that's going through a hard time and is asleep, you recognize that he's asking the question or complaining from a certain limited view. He cannot see the big picture. And you recognize that even that he's going through the hardship that he's going through, that is a beautiful experience that he's going through. Through the limited mind, it's painful. And I hate it. But when you open up, what a gift I just got. Right, so I think is for us to be here, and even right now, connecting the five of us and having this conversation and exploring. Right, one of the things that I recognize more and more when two unique perspectives, unique individual people are communicating and opening up, what's being created between both of them is a God in a way. It's another unique thing that we bring into this reality. Right? So when you look at it from this way, that, wait a second, I got a break from being just up there, right? And there's no density, and I got the opportunity to come here, work out the process or the karma or whatever I need to work on, but have all these experiences and that I can grow from and learn from and evolve from. What else I can ask for?
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
What did you,
That's beautiful.
what did you, what is your take on all of you on why is it possible now? And this is a genuine question. You know, monks some people devoted their entire lives to try and reach these states. Sometimes 40, 50 years, 60 years, sometimes maybe a few months or maybe a few years in a cave. So people really put in the work, put in the effort. Why do you think that it's all of a sudden possible for just people like you and I to start touching these states without putting in all this work?
I think in the collective, it's more available. And I think as the collective is more, I don't know, awake, it makes it more available for more of us. And it's also the availability of access this type of information and people, right? Think about you can go to there's gurus in India that before they can just work with their village, and today they reach millions, if not more, people online, right? So it's a lot more available, it's more open. As we said in the beginning of the conversation, even for us, sometimes it's hard to find people to talk to them about it, right?
Yeah.
Most people, they want to talk about money, sex, they want to go out, they want to buy clothes, they want a bigger house. They have no interest in hearing about these things.
No,
Right.
you're right, but that's a good answer, that it's much more available in the collective.
Yeah.
I also think it's part of the evolution of everything too, right? The way the planets are always
I would like to
evolving as well.
go.
Go ahead, Amanda.
John,
Amanda.
you can continue.
Oh, I was just going to share about a message that I received about what we were talking about.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you guys were, sounds were all coming everywhere. So I had a message, and it was through meditation. And what they told me was, you have absolutely nothing to do. Neither one of us have to change what we're doing right now. All we have to do is just be us. And like what Mickey said, well, where do you go from there? Like we're living right now in this moment. Where does the action come from? The action comes from following your joy. And that's all we have to do. And then, the other thing that came through to me while in this meditation was, it was all about our thoughts, like positivity. We change the way we think, and then you open the heart up, and then you have all of these different avenues to now change the path forward to the highest path possible. But all they told me to do was just do you. Do exactly what you've been doing, because the whole time I've been there with you since birth.
Totally.
We already have lived this. We've already done this. We've done 20, 30 conversations already, like and that's it. And that's from my perspective.
Yeah.
And it's taken all of you guys to get me to this perspective, to hear it, to see it, to feel it, now to live it.
Yeah. So what comes up to me a lot lately is really the only thing that you can do is just be.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just a happening. You're
But
not
isn't being also happening?
Be is a happening, but you cannot. So do you remember? Part of the thing is, what are we aware of, right? So I can be aware of my thoughts. I can be aware of my body. I can be aware of what's in front of me. So this is not who I am. That's not my essence. When I go back to, right. So what I started doing a while ago, every time that something comes up, I know it's not me, because it comes up, I'm aware of it. So you keep going backward and backward and backward and backward, right? Until there's nothing else for you to say, it's not part of me, and just stay there. And when you stay there, this is just being. You're not aware of this thing anymore. You cannot contemplate it. You're just being.
Wait, but aware means just aware of it. It's not. It doesn't mean contemplating it. So it just feels to me like it would be more, in my way of, I guess, would be saying it would be the only thing you can do is to be aware. So maybe use the word aware more in like trying to analyze it. But I feel like awareness is what you do in Vipassana. You're just aware. You're not trying to grab it or do anything with it. You're just aware of the next thing or whatever is in fact arising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay there.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's not a it's a place of quiet. It's a place of be. Right, and then you see that it's all just happening. I'll give you an example. This morning, so I have a small flat outside of my house, right? It's been going on for a few days. There is like a bottle of water, right, that gets filled out, and then it just sits there. And it's funny. This morning, and I'm doing it for a few days. I go up, I get up, I get a bucket of water, I fill it out, and then I take the water and I spread it between the plants, right? And I'm laughing because as I'm here aware of it, I know that it's happening because Idan think that he needs to be responsible. If the water is there, let's share it between the plants. Let's do this. So Idan is doing things because of a certain knowing. I didn't have so many different choices. Of course, I have a lot of choices, but based on Idan's knowing, of course, this activity will happen. Make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had these states. I guess I'm the only reason I'm asking. So, for example, the sentiment you just expressed, Amanda. Who can possibly disagree, right? It's beautiful. It's true. But in the spirit of not taking yourself so seriously, if we would just do that, then we'd just all come on here and we'd just sit and like look into the camera. That's it. So, like,
But it's not true because we're following our joy and we all love to talk. So guess what? It's gonna be voices.
Yeah. No, we're in full agreement. By the way, that I don't know if it's because we spoke about it before you're done, but that gesture that you did, that's exactly how I describe it. I've had these states where you just fully, there's just the world, and it's just this like, even that sound, it's like it's not silence, it's the lack of possibility for it's the possibility for anything to arise, but it has this, it's almost like a subtracted silence. It's like it's just like
I just saw that. I just felt that when you did that.
Yeah. Then there is like a natural, beautiful creation that comes, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember when I started the process and I worked with somebody on dream analysis, and he's like, yeah, we worked things out. And I told them, don't work everything out because I don't want to lose my edge. I don't want to lose my edge. So don't clean everything out. I know that I need some of my thing in me. And he was laughing, like with a lot of love, but he was laughing.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's very, it's very difficult. I can only imagine what a person would require to be married to a fully enlightened person. That's very difficult. It's like there's zero friction. There's just not. It's just how do you even do that? That's like, maybe, you know what? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe in World 2.0, there's going to be like enlightened marriages. And there's a whole new form of things.
Yeah.
It says a lot about both.
About what?
About both. Like the couple.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the energies, because I think on private we spoke about intimacy and even being in relationship while you're going through this process, and it's not easy because if a person cannot hold the energy, something will happen in the room or before they come in. You cannot explain it, but vibration, if you're not much in vibration, they cannot hold the energy. it will feel uncomfortable for both. It will not it will not let you stay in the same space together.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I was very lucky, very blessed with, especially in the beginning, the first 5-6 years, my wife recognized, like, okay, I see that you're going through something. I see there's something happening. I don't need to understand it. I don't want to understand it right now, but I feel it. So I'm going to give you the space, and I will respect your space because I get it. And sometime when I was very excited and I want to talk and I want to share, she will be sometime, look, I love you, but it's your process. So enough now. Right? But there is a beautiful dance to it, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, as you go through the process, like, I want to tell everybody everything need to change today. Like, okay, your journey is not our journey. We love you. We're going to be here for you, but chill. And sometimes when you go through a hard time, the only thing that you need is somebody to, I see you. I see you. I recognize. It's okay.
Yeah, don't open the fire hose. It's gonna have a very different kind of effect. But I also
I
feel
think these are. Go ahead, Danny.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna kind of go into it's been 2 hours. I don't know if you guys realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I probably,
But
I probably
finish finish.
No, it's a good cue. I need to because I have to go back to work in a few hours. I probably should get some sleep. I haven't slept at all. So.
I do feel we opened up a lot of great avenues and paths to ask some questions, because we all come from different experiences going through this process of awakening, however perspective we have looked at it or gone through it. And I think will leave some great new conversations for the future.
Yeah, we just started, I think.
We're just starting. Yeah. So I want to thank you guys. Like I said, I honor that you guys had been able, all of us were able to come on at the same time. That's amazing. You guys are amazing people, souls here. Like, I can't explain it. Like Mickey always says, he always uses emojis because he can't speak at the moment. And that's, the feeling. And I understand that feeling the more and more. There's no words to express, because really, we don't need words.
Yeah.
To express the love that we all feel for each other and what we feel for what we're doing. Idan?
I just want to say thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very thankful to have all of you in my life. I think this is, as I said before, this magical moments, this beautiful connection. I think that's what it's all about. This beautiful, meaningful connection. It's this depth that it's just wow. And Amanda, you're fucking awesome. Seriously. Love you so much. Yeah. And it's amazing that you're seriously holding all of it together and showing up. Superstar. So
thank you.
Thank you.
I've been a little busy lately, but I will be back with meditation soon.
Yes.
I love your meditations. I don't always listen to them on time because of the time differences, but I almost always go back either on TikTok or on YouTube and I rewatch them. They're very, very beautiful.
Awesome.
Powerful.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Bye, guys.
And if any else want to come and do any of it, please do a meditation.
Bye, guys.
I love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
If you loved this, please press the like and subscribe.
Yes, press the like.